All right, all right. Listen, if you here with me today, I got an extra special treat for y'all. Y'all know who I am. My name is Kion Church. A lot of people call me Mr. KC. I'm the home office entrepreneur. Listen, we do this thing basically so everybody here can get these entrepreneur tips. I try to bring the best guests on for you. I had this guy on in the past. You may got to look back through some old videos, but if you here with me now, you're gonna catch all the heat, man. Y'all gonna love this one today. So look, before I let him talk, he got an awesome story. I just want to tell y'all, good personal friend of mine. Taught me a lot of things, man. Taught a lot of people a lot of stuff, especially this entrepreneur thing. He really has this one in the bag. So when he talk, I want y'all to pay attention. I'd like to introduce him to you right now. I call him Mr. JL. A lot of people call him Coach Williams. Everybody know him. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I'm absolutely fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I really
Oh,
feel good that we together, man. I feel like we've been putting this one off for a while, man. We gotta
yeah,
we gotta
yeah,
start.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like you be calling me and you be giving me all the good ones, man. But we need to share this thing with the world, man. So I'm so grateful to have
Yeah,
you in the building today, man. Awesome, awesome. So look,
yeah,
man,
man.
just to get in it, man. We people would like to know a little bit about your backstory.
Okay.
What's really good with the coach. Tell them something.
Well, man, listen. First of all, I want to thank you for having me on. This is just a pleasure to be on with you. You are a consummate entrepreneur as well. You've been doing some great things in the community. I love your passion. I love your push. I love your fight. You sticking and staying in the game. When most people would have cave in, threw in the towel, and quit, but you still here and you still standing. Reminds me of Antoine Fisher's story. I'm still standing and I'm still strong. And I think that's amazing, man, that we're able to do that. But my backstory, man, I started out, pretty much as an athlete, like a lot of guys. I think we all have a place where we start that motivates us and sort of gets us in the game. And having that attitude of a competitor. I've always been this deep competitor, a guy that always wanted to better my best. I love going up against competition that was particularly much better than me. Because the Bible says iron sharpens iron, and one man's countenance sharpen the countenance of another. And so I love when I'm able to, cross pollinate gifts and experiences and sort of just share pretty much of what it is that that we're able to get to one another. The Bible says two cannot walk together except they be in agreement. And you and I have been on this journey of entrepreneurship and trying to empower, impact, and transform the lives of people for a long time. And it's a labor of love. It's a labor of us wanting to see the best out of people and not them just settling for just the crumbs, but understand that there's a whole cake on the other side, right? And so I think the origin of of that comes from me being a competitor, which really bleeds into my family. My family are a bunch of competitors and people that I've been groomed in this particular space by my family members, my grandmother, my mother, my cousins, my uncles. We've always always been like that competitive edge, and then not only that, but being able to couple that with life skills. We cut from a different era. We come from a different place in the sense of you know when we were born, where were we born, the ethics, the fundamental foundation by which we have been groomed, and we've been groomed, by old school traditions. A lot of my company is really based on things that I have acquired over the years, particularly as a young child, around life skills, being able to say thank you, excuse me, yes sir, no sir. Being able to understand that those things are very, very significant, particularly when it comes to business. Because when you're in business, you got to look somebody in the eye. mean what you say what you mean, shake someone's hand, give them a firm handshake. So all those kinds of things, and then being able to have an attitude of gratitude. And understanding, with the backdrop of my sports background, even in basketball, it's about teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more. It's about us coming together, us doing it together, and understand that there are no big I's or little U's, but we actually come together to win together. That's pretty much when I think about my background. I couldn't leave out those things of parents who groomed me in that space, and also my coaches. My coaches who were a major contributor to my growth and development. And some of my first coaches were my uncles and aunts and my grandmother and my mother. They were my first coaches. And then when I got on the basketball court, I had some other coaches that taught me some other things, but I had already had a strong foundation fundamentally. So when I was able to, be coached by like a real coach, it was something that I was eager to do. And because I understood how to take direction, I understood how to, run the play and trust the process. I understood that whole piece. And so me being a competitor and being in that space was just sort of a natural fit for a next step in my life. So, which winds me up in the space that I'm at right now.
Awesome. Now look, here, I don't mean to cut you off, Coach, but if they hear what is now, I need them to really hashtag live, because we in the broadcast room with you, hashtag rebroadcast if they watching this, later on down the line in the rebroadcast. Coach, tell them how they can find you real fast before we get lost in this interview, because I know you got some good things to say. How can they find you on the internet?
You can reach me if you go to Join JL Now. Join JL Now on Facebook. I don't have a Twitter, but I do have Instagram. So everything Join JL Now. My website is joinjlnow.com. One of the things I champion is helping people to get on the runway to their purpose, because I believe everyone deserves the opportunity to take flight in the thing that God has given you. But you got to get on the runway first. And the runway suggests that there's some work involved before you take flight. And so I use that analogy because I think we've all been on planes and, or we've seen planes. And the fascination for me is that, the plane burns most of its gas on the ground. Because, it takes work to take flight. There's work involved before you take flight into anything that you are about to do or want to do. And so understand that there's work involved, and you have to be an active participant in your own deliverance.
That was strong. That was strong. We on here talking about feed your focus, starve your distractions, right? So tell me, what was some external struggles, maybe physical struggles that you was dealing with, trying to feed your focus, starve your distractions? What were some of that?
I think when you say physical struggles,
physical, but what was
well, I tell you that there's always a mental game that's a part of it. If you ever play chess or checkers, you got to understand that you always have an adversary. You always have someone, that or something that is in the way, but in between you and the thing that you desire to do. And understand that process is really a process that's happening for you than it is happening to you. And so things that are happening for you that sort of, are disguised as problems and challenges are some of the most best lessons that you'll learn in your life, because those are things that are helping to bring out the greatness in you, to help to strengthen you in areas that you may be weak in. And so, that's how we become strong. We fail our way to success. Success is not something that we stumble upon. It's as a result of things that we're doing active over a period of time, and you have to truly be intentional around what it is that you want to accomplish. As far as you actually being successful. And so I think for me, it's been me fighting me. It's me dealing with, understanding that I want to get to this level, but my growth and development right now might be at this level. And so there's some things that I have to do in order to get to this space, so I can become who I really desire to become. And so, personal development, it was a great part for me, in me even getting to the place that I could actually believe that I could have my own company, that I could have, being able to, come in various spaces where I didn't in the beginning have an expertise, but over a period of time, the work that I was willing to put in to develop myself, created what I call now this expert, this empowerment specialist. I'm able to, renew the mind, upgrade the thinking, and change the status of people now because of the work that I was willing to put in before. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary, and we have to understand that there's going to be work involved in anything that we want to partake in. And so, what became my vitamin, brother Church, was the word no. Sometimes what happens is when people come in contact with adversity, depending on the degree and the level of development that they've had, they're either gonna cave in, quit, and throw in the towel, or they're gonna see it clearly so they can change it effectively. And so that comes with development personally. And so I had to take that time, and I spent thousands of dollars on myself personally so I could develop. I mean, whenever kids get in my car, I don't just listen to just music. I always have something, personal development. I always have something that's feeding my focus and starving my distractions. I'm listening to some of my mentors from afar, like Les Brown, Og Mandino, TD Jakes. I have so many that are in my car that I'm only one of them that I've ever met was really TD. I met TD Jakes and Les Brown, but I have several of them that are mentors from afar, that I listen to, and I grab hold to a lot of the knowledge that they have shared with me over the years. And so, yeah, that's really been my thing, man. People spend more money on themselves than they do in themselves.
Absolutely. So tell me, Coach, what was the wall or the problem that you hit, as you was coming along, to get on this new journey? Like, what was the major stumbling block where you said, I gotta do something different?
Well, there's always, we've been engineered for greatness, but programmed for failure. And I think it's being able to grab hold of the engineering part of us that God has created, and really having, coming into contact with me in a sense of wanting to get to that next space. And so, people see, they see different barriers differently. They see things differently. One of the things I think that I had to get around is that, my past, all of us have a past. And so when I think about my internal, my story, in the sense of a lot of things that I had been through in my younger age, because I had been in alternative schools. I didn't do well as far as academically. I didn't do well. And so I had to really get over the fact that because I didn't have these things, still did not disqualify me from being successful. And so those things didn't define me. I used those things to grow me and groom me. They were just they were not I used them as a stepping stone and not something that would stop me. And so those internal voices that we hear, sometimes people, have people in their life that may have said something to them, or they may have had something done to them that was so devastating, that is something that is always on repeat in their head, particularly when they're going after something that is bigger than themselves. That definitely can play a part. And then when you don't have the education that maybe other people have, who are sort of more qualified on paper, to do whatever it is that, the task that is at hand, particularly in my industry. I came in my industry and working with kids as an entrepreneur. I didn't come as an educator. And so for years, it was hard for me to actually get in the door of the different schools to do what it is I'm doing now, because I didn't possess that piece of paper. I didn't possess the education. But I feel like I feel like in some senses, in the movie Taken, the brother shares on the phone of the captives that actually has his daughter, and she's really she's really frantic and she's upset, and so they grab the phone and he says, "I have a set of skills." I have a set of skills, right? And so I have a set of skills that is able to set the captive free and able to empower, impact, and transform people's lives. And so with the skill of being able to motivate kids and to inspire them, and then being able to give them some tools that actually help them, help them be stronger, help them build confidence, help them to identify their identity of who they are and be strong in that space, and be okay with who I am when I look in the mirror. Be okay with that, and let's build on that. And so areas that we may not be strong in, and we may not be satisfied within ourselves, we have an opportunity to build that. And not only opportunity, we have an obligation, particularly if we are people that are helping to empower other people. We have to become a better version of ourselves every day. And that's my whole piece. Every day I want to be able to have the advantage of going in any situation, any circumstance, any predicament, and being able to transform that space. Because we are transformation specialists. This is who we are. We transform environments. When we come into an environment, we transform it because of who we are, and not only what's in us, but what's on us. We are anointed by God to do the thing that we are actually operating in. And so I get that across in several different ways. For kids, whether it be through pictures, whether it be through a song, whether it be through me actually teaching, and specifically in dealing with those particular areas, that they may be grappling with. I have that ability to do that. So, yeah, man. And so that's taken me different places. And let me tell you something. I remember November 2001 is when I went and got my license. Okay. Because that's the point when I first believed. Sometimes you're always taken back to the point when you first believed. That's when I first believed in the fact that I had what it is that people needed in order to really operate at their best and their highest. I felt that, and I was bought into it. And my spiritual father, he's with the Lord now, Maurice Jones, really helped me. Help to groom me and grow me in that space, so I would feel more confident within myself. Because sometimes when you don't have certain things that people look at as okay, as a criteria in order for you to operate in this space, then sometimes you can feel like, wow, maybe I'm not, maybe I don't have this, maybe I'm not, but it's it's not your. I heard TD Jakes talk about this last week. Um, it's not what you have. It's your strategy in which you actually present your information. How do you present your strategy? It's not the thing you have that's wrong, because what you have is a need, and you've been groomed to this point and to solve problems, right? Well, and so I had to identify that. What problem do I solve in the marketplace? And so I solve problems of self-esteem. I solve problems of people being significant. I solve problems with kids understanding who they are and whose they are. I solve problems and making the classroom a better place. I solve problems for teachers. I solve problems for the school district. I solve problems, and so I had to understand the problem that I solved, and then my strategy, right? My strategy, my approach to it had to look different because I didn't possess the degrees and all that kind of stuff. But there's always a crease, or there's always a lane that God opens up that allows you to walk in, that is uniquely designed, designated, customized for you to walk in. And so when we see now a lot of the crime, a lot of the things that are happening in our world today, that our children are traumatized by, and they are exhibiting the kind of behaviors in school that reflect the things that they see on the outside. And so it's important that that kids can come into an environment and feel empowered, and being able to dismantle those things that are things that will really hinder them in their process of becoming. And so I actually help with that whole narrative when I come into schools, and when I come into different places now, having contracts with the state as well as the county. Having now, I have 3 places that I actually uh, work with kids, and I have people that are really doing extremely well and working with them that have partnered with me. And so I'm really excited about that. So I tell people, you'll always see further than you'll ever go. So you have to have people around you that believe in your dream, that believe in that definitely believe in your dream. And not only that, you have to cover yourself in your weak places. When you cover yourself in your weak places, when you're in business, that's more of a compliment than competition. So I don't partner with people that don't have my best interest at hand, or if we do the identical same things, because that will create competition. So I create opportunities for people to actually go into different environments and do what they do, much like what you're doing with your home health aid. You're creating opportunities for people, to work and to care for other people. And so, and then through that opportunity, they're able to pay their bills. They're able to do these things. So, it's a labor of love, man. We are messengers of hope and opportunity. And so it's a beautiful thing, bro. Really is.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you, what was the epiphany that you experienced in the new opportunity that you discovered through your travels? When it first came all about. Basically, let's talk about your new, like, how
that I could do it. Like okay, so when COVID came, nobody knew how this whole thing would play out. We saw people dying. We saw a whole lot of stuff taking place. Um, and people were trying to figure out how do I, what's going to come of this? Because things will never go back to normal. You know what I mean? So it's just, we were drawing for straws because when you can't understand a thing or you can't solve it with the old thoughts that you would normally try to solve something with. Um, it can create chaos, and so that's pretty much what we were in. We were in a chaotic situation. um so let me share with you about with COVID, what happened with the whole COVID piece. So there were a lot of displaced families that were displaced all around the state. They were homeless. They were going in, they were in hotels and all that. And so the state had money to actually, in different places. And so that happened, right?
Sound is bad. Your sound is bad. We
Um,
kind of lost you for a second. Kind of breaking
oh,
up.
did you, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I'm sorry,
coach. I'm sorry.
but that's okay. So when COVID took place, when that happened, um, when that happened, um, I had gotten a phone call from the assistant superintendent of the Christina School District, Miss Deidre Joyner, and she asked me to follow her, so I did that. When somebody like that asks you to follow them, you follow them. And so she was actually going down to the Red Roof Inn off 896. She went down to the Red Roof Inn, and down there was all the people that were from the state that were actually, you know, she was going down there to actually share with them how they were going to actually deal with this whole COVID piece with all these children and families that were in this hotel. And so when I came with her, she actually she went down. We went to the meeting together, and she shared with them. Well, listen, I have Coach Williams with me, um, and he's going to access all these children that are in this hotel. They'll get their lesson, they'll get their Chromebooks, they'll get all these things. Um, we'll have tutors, we'll have teachers, we'll have So she was sort of really sharing what she saw in me because she saw me do it. She saw me do it at the Bancroft School. So she said, "Wow, I want to, I know he could do it again." So when I went there, that was my mission. My mission was to, like, wow, we can ready to make this happen. And so I sort of like, um, to be totally honest with you, man, I was like, wow, you know, I said, God, I said, you know we can do it, right? And so I said, and so when they looked at me and asked me the question, they were like, well, we want to talk to Coach Williams. And so I said, well, yeah, we're gonna do exactly what it is that Dr. Joyner have stated, and we're gonna get it done. And so you guys come back in 2 weeks, we'll have that done. So I rode on her faith, even though I was like, wow, I never did anything this before because we
Right.
never had this before. This is so we didn't have any prior knowledge. And
Not
so
not
what happened was I was able, man, they gave the people at the hotel gave me a list of all of the families in there that had children. And I went on literally, I knocked on every door in that hotel. At the end of 2 weeks, we had 35 kids and we had families, uh, that were a part of this whole process that supported it. And then we had people in the community. The church was involved because they actually um, bought food from Wawa. We had this one lady who had a ministry, who she would go to Wawa and get all of their sandwiches at the end of the day that they didn't sell, and then bring them the very next day. Boom. And we had lines wrapped around the hotel that were actually getting that. Um, and then we had, you know, different people. Representative Bombach was there, Mr. Chuck Hayward, um, Miss Katie Hughes. I mean, all these people played a significant part in this whole process. I just sort of, you know, just did exactly what Dr. Joyner asked me to do. And in 2 weeks, we had about 35 kids. And when I
Awesome.
tell you, it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful, brother. And it was like it was seeing it was seeing me in a space, and understanding that my gift of being able to encourage and empower transcended um, COVID. It transcended the impact that COVID had with them kids, because we were able to bring them into an environment, and they produced, and they did great things in that space, in that environment. And so, you know, it was almost like you would never know that we were in a pandemic, because these kids were learning. We were going on. We had our own. We went on field trips, and everything was done with our mask, and we all had, you know, and the Christina School District provided all the transportation, and Dr. Joyner until this day, um, even as our transition over to the Hope Center. And let me share with you about the transition. And so transition to the Hope Center was when the money ran out, when the money, the grant ran out, all those kids now had to transition over. They went over to the Hope Center. And so for a period of time, you know, I wasn't, I didn't have, I wasn't working in that capacity. I still was working over at the schools, still had my contract there, but I wasn't working in that capacity. And then when the kids left over there, they left and went over there. They were asking, like, where's Coach Williams at? Is he coming? Is he going to be a part of this? Man, nobody over there knew me. They didn't know. Nobody over at the Hope Center knew. I didn't even know where the Hope Center was. Um, but Dr. Joyner was able to connect with um, um, Dr. Michelle Taylor, the CEO of United Way, and she became involved, and then she actually took over and picked up where the state dropped off, and she was able to now provide the funding and resources that I could actually go over to the Hope Center and do the very thing that I was doing here at the Red Roof Inn, because now, that was it. So when that process happened, we went on tour. I went on tour with Dr. Michelle Taylor, and um, over to the Hope Center. We did that, and man, I tell you, man, I got so emotional when I went in there, because when I went in there, brother Karan, I saw all my kids, man. I saw all my kids that had transitioned over there. I'll never forget it, man. And I feel some kind of way even now just thinking about it. When I went into the big room in the back, and when I opened the door, man, it was like seeing all my kids, man. All the kids that I have worked with over at the Red Roof Inn, and they just sort of embraced me with so much love. It was like, wow. And so that happened. So needless to say, I was able to go in there, and I've been at the Hope Center for 3 years now. And we're there now doing our summer programming. And I'm excited about that. And new kids come all the time. Man, let me tell you something. Since I've been at the Hope Center, man, we done been to Longwood Gardens. We done been to the White House. You know what I mean? We was on the South Lawn for Easter. They had their whole Easter thing. And we have just been on different trips in various places. And even this summer, we're gonna be going on and doing some great things as well. And so it's been just so amazing, man. And then dealing with kids and families that are in a temporary situation, and helping them to grow and keep them encouraged. so they can now take what it is that they learn to the next place that they're going. And that's a place that has all the wraparound services that the families need in order to be successful. And I just want to commend Lisa, Kimberly, and Nicole, and all those people over at the Hope Center, man, that just make it happen on an everyday basis. I'm really excited. My assistant, Terry Rayfield, I couldn't do it without her. Shanara Thomas, who was a part of that whole process. She's the young lady that's there with me, tutoring and all that kind of stuff, and all the other people that come to actually support that whole process. I mean, it's absolutely me and Dr. Michelle Taylor United Way, who have just been there, and been my been the wind beneath my wings in a sense. And so they've been there, and I thank God for my wife, my beautiful wife, who is always supporting me, Dr. Williams. She always supports me, and in
Shout out,
doing the things that we do.
shout out to Dr. Williams, because she
Yeah,
treated me to brought me in on a few things at school. We love her.
yeah,
Let me ask
oh
you,
yeah.
JL, I know you was brought in by the top echelon, man, because everybody knows the skills that you got and what you really possess. But in the beginning, what was the plan you created to achieve your goals and desires? What was the plan? Like, how'd you come up with that? What was it and how did you
Man.
come up?
So I had so I used to play. So I played basketball overseas for a little while. When I had gotten an injury, I didn't know what my next was. But you know what, man? When I was overseas, man, only I would love to always work with the kids. Like so our games were on the weekends,
Mhm.
right? So our games were on the weekends, and during the week we practiced and we did exhibitions in different places and went to community centers and all that, and really made those communities in those various areas aware of what it is that who we were and what we were doing and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like a little celebrity in that area, right? And but I would love just to always be with the kids, man. I was always in a gym somewhere or doing exhibitions and all that kind of stuff. So I would head those things up. So those things became like the catalyst of what God was grooming me as, and even in a young state. And then when I stopped playing, I got hurt, and that was a whole process within itself. But to make a long story short, it was, what was my next? I was like, what was my next? So when I actually come home, when I come home, I'm like, man, what am I doing? And so I hooked up with one of my coaches, Mr. Tom Raleigh. Tom Raleigh was my coach, and he was now he was the principal of PLC, which was called the Positive Learning Center at the time. And so the Positive Learning Center, man,
Way back.
yeah, I, I sort of start working with kids that were hard to reach kids, and coach would always tell me, yo, man, share with them your story. Share with them. They need to hear who you are, where you've been, how'd you get here? He said, and my coach, he told me, he said, man, he said, that's your bread and butter right there. He said, facts tell, but stories sell all day long. And you
That's
got
right.
an awesome, beautiful story of how where you were doing what you were doing, and now you're here, and now what is your next? And so my next became being able to empower the next generation, and so I created this uh, you know this space to encourage kids that were really they had low self-esteem, and they didn't know who they were, and so they were behaving like whoever. They weren't doing what it is uh, that they were supposed to be doing. And so being able to help them, to show them themselves, and then show them a new version of who they could become. And so I remember Les Brown said, look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse, but look at him as what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. And so when I was able to look at those kids as who they could be, many of them decided to become what they should be. and it was a repetitive group sessions, you know, and that's where I cut my teeth in what it is that I'm doing today. And I remember when November 2001, I went to the state building and got my license. I got my business license. I was going to a church at the time. Um, and in this church, they had this daycare that was called Save the Seed. And every time I went to church, when I look up at it, Brother Kyron, I couldn't, I always cried. Tears would come to my eyes. And it was almost like that's what the mission that God called me to save the seed, to save the seed of hope in the hearts of children. And so that's what God sort of laid in my hands. That was my labor of love that I was going to have to, that I was going to be doing. And so I did, and I started on that quest. And I remember going into the pastor's office, and he would see me, and he said, "I know why you're here." And why? I said, why am I here? And his name is Pastor Gaines. I said, Pastor Gaines, why am I here? He said,
Okay.
you can have. He said, you can have the name. I said, what? I said, how'd you know? How'd you know? He said, man. He said, I see in the spirit. He said, man, I see it. He said, it's all over you. He said, so go and do that which God has called you to do. And let me tell you something. From that time to now, that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been saving the seed.
Did
The
you
seed.
experience any conflicts along in your journey? Did you experience any conflicts trying to put that together?
Oh, absolutely, man. You know what I mean? No became my vitamin. You know, I ate no for breakfast. And so no was the thing that helped to sculpt and create who I would become. Because, you know, I would go in different doors and share with people what I could do. And I remember working even with Tyrone Johnson at the time of SeaTac. And SeaTac, you know, he gave me a platform. I remember I was Mr. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith from Sepia Cleaners. SeaTac was partnering with them with some airtime on Channel 28 at the time. And so, you know, I was the motivator. So I would come on and talk about the different invasions that we had in the community, because CTAC stands for Churches Take a Corner. And so we would actually deploy a lot of people, you know, in areas of the community, and we would just minister to people, you know, and it just and it became just a labor of love. And so in that space, you know, Ty would give me opportunities to go on TV and actually talk about the things that happened in the community when we did our invasions. And this happened once a month. And so, you know, so I became like the motivator. And so whenever I would sort of share the experiences, I was so excited. I was so emotional. It was just so amazing. And so people got that from me. And so I sort of, you know, that's sort of what took place. And so you know what, come on, when I look at adversity, I always look at it as opportunity. You know, whenever, even now that I find myself in a hard place, I always look at it as what is God? Something is about to happen. There's something that's getting ready to be revealed in this moment. Something is about to, the trajectory of where I'm going is about to shift, and God is getting ready to take me to a whole nother level. Because when adversity comes, elevation is part of that whole process. Because if you can overcome the temporary setback, God is stretching you back to take you further. And so if you can see it from that space, you know, um, then you can have it. You can you know you sort of do that. You sort of see it from that vantage point, and that's how I begin to really, from that space. I seen adversity as opportunity, and when people can turn that inside out and see it for what it is and not more than what it is, they can begin to get the victory in their life.
What was the end result after all
Well,
that?
the end result is getting contracts. I got one of my first contract was at Marion T Academy. No, my very first contract was at Project Stay Free. Project Stay Free used to be a place on Market Street that I went to, and I would go there and I would share what it is I could do. And Miss Rita Ferguson, never forget her. Miss Rita Ferguson she ran that when I came there, right? And she said, "All right, brother John." She said, "Can you come here? Can you come here on Wednesday nights and speak to our young people?" Now these were kids that were. It was remember, Project State Free was an alternative to incarceration, right? And so you
Okay.
had kids that were on the fence in life. They were in trouble. They were trying to find their way. They weren't certain of the direction they were going. They were in a lot of trouble. They had a lot of, well, to be in there, you had charges, you had all that kind of stuff. And so I was challenged with the task to really help these kids saving the seed in their heart, giving them some hope and giving them some tools for travel and jewels for the journey. And that's what I did. And I started on that quest of making that happen. And so the tools that I would give them would be tools that would help them to um, to identify their strengths in their life. Identify what is the strength, what is the one thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. Who are you? What is that one thing that you do? I want you to begin to really fall in love with that, because that will be the catalyst that will take you to many places around this world. And so I started out doing things like that every Wednesday, man. It got to the point that they would invite other people to come to these meetings because it was so powerful. And in that space, it was very motivational. It was very emotional. But let me tell you something, man. It was very um, it was very useful for them, and it became almost like a place that they look forward to coming to on Wednesday nights. You was Wednesday nights with the motivator, and that's sort of how I began to sort of get, have my name and all that kind of stuff, and people would call me that, and and because I would go in spaces to do just that. I would motivate, and so as a result of that, doing it for free at first, I did it for free, and then for free turned into a contract because Miss Rita Ferguson and Project Stay Free saw value in what I'm doing. So that was my first contract, man. And in that first contract, I began to see, wow, I got something. And I remember, and then all the people, places, and things that were around me begin to open up and speak into what it is that I had. I had mentors like Mr. Emery Graham. Mr. Emery Graham was a mentor of mine that would speak to me daily about, well, here's your next step. I was running the play and trusting the process of all of my coaches at the time, and they were telling me different steps to take. Ty, and then I met Pastor Derek, Pastor D, and then I met an array of different people that were contributors to who you see today. And so they would give me different things to do, and I would go do them, and I would get results. Go talk to that person, see if we can. I remember going to one of my first public speaking events that was actually a corporate deal at HAN, Hercules African American Network, and it was right at the Hercules building. And Pastor Derek Johnson actually set the whole thing up for me because I watched him for a long time. I watched him speak. I went with him to speak. I did all that. And so, I had someone like Paul had, Timothy had Paul, right? So there's always a predecessor. There's always someone that's speaking to your life that's helping you to encourage you to take the next steps. And so, that's what happened, man. And then I started to get other contracts. My second contract was with Marion T Academy Charter School. I got my second contract there, and I was responsible for transitioning kids that got kicked out of different schools. They had to come through my program, and then they could enter into Marion T Academy. So Marion T Academy had a little house, like it was a little police station, and Mr. Kevin Taylor made that the Save the Seed transitional house, and that whole piece became an incubator for helping kids who were hard to reach, that were in alternative placement situations. It helped them to really get their mind in a space where they saw value in themselves and they understood their purpose. I helped them to see it clearly so they could change it effectively. And they went into that, they were now able to go into the school and do and execute and do the things that they were supposed to do and become the people that they were supposed to become. And so I did that with also Lady Cynthia. Her name is she's like my sister, Lady Cynthia McKnight. Lady Cynthia McKnight did what we would call therapeutic drama, and she was able to dramatize, certain things that actually, show kids themselves and show them their behavior. It got to the point, Brother Chiron, that we created a drama guild that we actually took on the road, and then we took it where the twin poets, Rob Pritchett, Crystal Baynard. We had poets. We had so many people that would come on board that actually help us with this mission, because it was something. See, when you create something that is bigger than yourself, and this thing was much bigger than me. I may have started it, but it became something that people grabbed hold to. I had singers, Sister Katrina. Her last name, I can't think of her last name, but she's a singer. Um, I had different people that would sing and open up as we would go into different places. And then before my wife became my wife, I got a contract through Parents as Teachers. So now I started to enter the school district. And so that was the catalyst for me to actually going into the school district. And then later on, I got contract with Red Clay, and then I got contracts with the Christina School District, and things started to open up because the momentum of what you do began to impact so many people that the community began to embrace you, right? So, but in the beginning, there were a lot of no's, but no's had to become my opportunity. It had to become my vitamin. And so I couldn't take it personal. I didn't take the no personal. I took the no as they just don't know me. They just have never come in contact with the anointing that's on my life. They never came in contact with the motivator. They just don't know what they're missing. And a lot of times what I did, I would do stuff for free. I would ask them, can I, let me come and speak to your organization. Let me come and speak to your kids. Let me come and speak here. And let me tell you something. Most of the time that I came into environments and I was able to speak to kids, I left there with a contract. I left there with a meeting. I left there, call me tomorrow, coach. I left there with a contact, a point person that I was to speak to that next week or that next couple of days, because now they begin to see the significance of my service. And and so though that's the kind of stuff that happens, when you stick to something, when you stick to it, these things that come against you these are moments of personal development and growth. And what I would share with your listeners is that don't look at it as, a death sentence because somebody says no. Don't quit, because if you quit, you really miss the opportunity to discover who you would be on the other side of no. Who are you on the other side of no? So don't let no be, your end. Don't put a period, put a comma. Because on the other side of it, you're becoming somebody else. and you didn't allow it to stop you. It was a yield sign. It wasn't a stop sign. You know what I mean? So just keep moving. And that's what I would encourage people. Keep moving in spite of the no. Okay, the no came. Cool. Cool. You got past it. Understand there's a yes on this way. And that comes with the years of Brother Church of listening to my mentors, listening to other coaches, listening to Mr. Emery Graham and all these people that were around me that were feeding my focus and starving my distractions. You know what I mean? Because they were speaking into what it is, who I was going to become. And I just kept showing up. Kept showing up. 90% of it is showing up. The other stuff will happen while you're in the atmosphere, but 90% of it is showing up. When you show up, you don't know what's going to take place once you get in the space and get in the atmosphere and that environment. You don't know what's going to happen, right? You know what I mean? You just got to do the 90% part, and that's showing up. Right. And I got that, and that's my coaches and all that kind of stuff. You know, basketball, all that kind of those principles, all those things helped me tremendously along the way.
Right, right. You showing up, what was the transformation that you experienced for yourself?
I got stronger. Showing up got stronger. I got more certainty about myself, more confidence in me. I remember I used to me and one of my mentors, Pastor D, I used to go to his house, and we used to call it the Champs Camp. The Champs Camp. And what we would do, man, me and Pastor D, we would listen to rap songs, Tupac, we would listen to all that, you know, and then we would spar each other in speaking. We would be sparring each other, looking in the mirror. You know what I mean? Look in the mirror, how my posture is when I say certain things. I gotta say it like I gotta say it like I mean it and mean it like I say it. And I gotta say it with power, the intonation, the inflection of my voice. You know, am I projecting correctly? You know, I mean, we were in the mirror looking at, you know, refining our skill sets. Right? Refining our skill. See, those kinds of things, working on yourself, getting outside your comfort zone, speaking on things that you wouldn't ordinarily speak about. You got to read, finding out information. Man, I can't tell you how many books I got here. I got all these books, man. Books and books and books and books and books. Ordering Your Private World. I love this book. Man, reading. Listen, I always tell my kids, leaders are readers.
Right.
Leaders are readers. You gotta read. You gotta read and listen to different things, different podcasts, you gotta be an information junkie. You gotta be a warehouse of information, because I wanted to be able to speak on any topic, you know. And I remember going to Toastmasters. See, I was developing myself. I was putting my gift to the test. I was putting my gift to the test, and I always put my gift in environments that were very strange to me, that were very uncomfortable, because I wanted uncomfortability to be my comfort, right? But I had to put myself in spaces that help develop and nurture and strengthen that, and that would challenge me to become more than what I was and what I am, and I wouldn't settle. You know what, man? So many people settle in their class. They settle. You know, some people graduate, but most people settle in life. They settle for a job, right? They settle for a job. I remember it was Jim Rohn that said people settle for a degree of higher minimum wage. You settle for a higher minimum wage. That's all. You just, you know, you might have a cute office, but guess what? That's keeping, a lot of the times that keeps you from your dreams. People gave you a salary to keep you from your dreams. And so you get behind on your bills, and you get behind in your dreams. And you never come to a place where you are where you embrace that, and that thing begins to manifest in your life. Because see, you can't leave the legacy of your job. You can't leave your job to nobody, but you can leave your dream to somebody. See, my daughter is following in the footsteps of the legacy that will be left for her, because I've created something. I had manifested something. There's something that had been manifested as a result of what I have done, and me putting myself in uncomfortable situations, me putting in myself in situations that I was unqualified in on paper. But like I told you before, I got a set of skills.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you possess a set of skills that will open up doors and create opportunities for yourself, listen, that's when you get the victory. That's when you become who it is that you will eventually become. And you got to be intentional about that.
I heard that. That was strong. Look, we definitely have to do this again, man, because I know you got a lot more to give, man, and it's going great so far, man.
When I was on the radio station, and shout out to them on Rebirth, it's a Philadelphia station I was on the other day, and let me tell you something, man. They said, Coach, we could go hours. They said we could feel it in the atmosphere. You could just keep going and going, going. Like DJ Khaled said, keep going, right? Keep going. And let me tell you something. When it's in you, man, listen, it's a reservoir. It don't never stop. Hey, brother Church, it don't never stop. This is what I do. I wake up to this.
Right.
My wife wakes up to it. My kids. We wake up. This is what we do. We empower, we impact, and we transform lives. I'm the motivator, baby. You got me out here now, baby.
Give me a good one to close us out, man. I want something strong for the entrepreneurs. Everybody that's here with you today, man. Give them a good one, because they need to stop burning gas on the ground and get their takeoff. You understand what I'm saying? So
it's time to take flight, man. It's time to take flight. You listen, you've been settling long enough. It's time to take flight. God has given you a gift. He's giving you a gift. He's giving you a gift, and you're able to wake up with the gift every morning. And you walk out the house with the gift. What are you going to do? Are you going to unwrap it? Because you keep walking with it. You're walking with it. Stop walking with it and unwrap it. Come on. Stop walking with it and unwrap it. God waiting for you to unwrap this gift, and you keep walking with it because you're fearful.
Right.
Woo! You're fearful of who you really are, because somebody told you that the only thing that you could do is what you're doing now. And you have yet to dare to discover who you are. My God. Dare to discover who you are. And I'm going to end with this. Les Brown said it best, and I'm going to give it to you right here. He said, if you want anything bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. And if all that your dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it. But if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror, your fear of the opposition for it. And then if you simply go after this thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern for tenacity, if neither cold, poverty, famine, or gall, sickness or pain, or body or brain can keep you from that thing that you want, if dark and grim you besiege and beset it with the help of God, you can get it, baby. You can get it. You can get it. Come on, let's get it, baby. Stop walking around with that gift and unwrap it.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Mr. JL, Coach Williams. Listen, man, it's been a beautiful one today. I'm sorry, I gotta go pop up, man. You know what I mean? He gonna be calling me any minute talking about, man, look, you can talk to JL anytime. I love you, man. I love you.
Man, love you, man. Love you, brother.
Get with you again, man. I want them to know how can they get with you?
Hey, listen, I can be reached at 302-897-9563. 302-897-9563. You can reach me on my website at joinjlnow.com. Joinjlnow.com. right? Those are the different places that you can reach me. Um, and yeah, let's get it, man.
Let's get
That's how I can be reached. Look. Listen. I'm like prime time. I ain't hard to find.
it.
I
Feed your
ain't hard to
focus,
find.
start distraction. My name is Kion Church. They call me Mr. KC. Once again, listen, if you missed any of this, rewind, hashtag live, hashtag rebroadcast, wherever you watching this at. Definitely some good stuff. If you really feeling funky, share this thing to the world because this message is powerful. I'm sure somebody definitely need to hear some things that was said today. I appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you.
Amen. God bless you. Anything for you, brother. You know you my brother. I got you, man.
I need so you what you saying? Get some regular interviews now? Is that what you're saying, brother, man?
Yeah, man. Hey,
I love
I give people tips all the time, techniques, techniques, tips, techniques, ideals, principles, and strategies all the time. You know, I'm able to really help them to bring more definition to what it is that they have. You know, because I think that's what happens. You know, people just need to be provoked a little bit and be able to see what it is they have a little clearer. And I'm able to sort of bring some clarity to what it is that they may have right now. And so yeah, you know, people can reach out to me and we can make that happen, man. You know, I mean, it's just you know, we have something to serve people, right? And if it's not working, it's not that the thing that you have is not working. You just need a new strategy. You know, you need a new strategy. You know, if you have been called to be a problem solver, whatever it is that God placed in you, He placed in you to solve a problem. And if it's not working right now, it's because you need a new strategy. You need a new strategy. And so that's what I'm able to help you with.
that's strong, man. Thank you for your time, man. I 1000% appreciate you today, man. I appreciate you. And the audience love you too, man. And after this is over, man, I'm a rewind this thing back and get my notebook out.
Hey,
I got some,
me too.
okay.
Yeah, me too. For real, me too. Yeah.
I love you, man. Thank you again, man. And we'll definitely rap again soon. All right.
Absolutely, bro. Love you, man. Anytime.
One love.
One love.